Nothing makes you sound more unbearable as a parent than saying, "My child is gifted." I cringe every time I try to explain my daughter's differences. I know there is a huge risk it will sound braggy, and that is part of a big problem. How we name things can hugely influence how we feel about them. And the word gifted carries a bias in both directions, the positive and the negative. Saying "my child is gifted" can feel socially illegal. Not saying it feels like there is something wrong with her, something to be quiet about. The way society has built a story around what giftedness means, it feels like asking for accommodations or for some understanding of their differences makes me a pushy parent, someone full of entitlement. In a way, even bringing up that a gifted child has any special needs sounds like I'm complaining about a first world problem. I get it. This is what we've been made to believe, and I guess before becoming a parent of a gifted child, I would think the same. It is even harder not to play it down when you are surrounded by parents of children whose special needs are so visible and so pressing that they don't even get to start worrying about achievement, for example, because they are exhausted fighting for far more basic and essential things. And that is where we get it wrong, by applying an ableist lens to children's well-being. We somewhat make some more worthy of help than others. All children of all abilities should have their needs met. Their school experience should be positive, and no parents should have to feel ashamed of asking for that. Gifted children have special needs that on the surface can look less essential to our society and our education system. But overlooking those needs because the child can learn turns them into invisible beings, left to cope alone with a whole series of real difficulties, high levels of anxiety, depression, identity struggles, and social issues, to name a few. It is also important to note that giftedness is not an achievement measure. Being gifted doesn't mean this child will do better than others. I don't really like the word gifted and will usually joke, a gift to who? To me, a gift is something you receive, you like, you enjoy, you keep. Being gifted is something you are. It's how your brain is wired. You don't get to return or exchange that for a voucher. The results of this specific neurological combination can vary immensely, and no gifted person is the same. It is a natural variation that happens in very few people for a number of reasons, and it is part of being human. I've decided to use the word gifted consciously, partly because there is no consensus on what to call this. In English, gifted is simply the most common word we have for this complex profile, and that at least gives us a starting point. I believe there is real value in using the word gifted, in exhausting its meaning, in discussing it, in no longer being afraid of it, in stripping it of its powers and challenging the biases that it carries. And hopefully somewhere along the way, as long as we normalize this conversation about giftedness and we advance our understanding of it, someone somewhere will find a better word for it. To many people, gifted sounds like a compliment. And I guess that it's easy to think that way when this has been forever linked to high intelligence. But gifted shouldn't be a compliment or a badge of honor. Giftedness is a rare cognitive profile, one that many people consider a form of neurodivergency. And it belongs to someone who exists outside the normative box on certain measures, including how we currently measure intelligence. It has its own challenges and its own needs, and those needs deserve attention. They deserve a voice. As a parent of a gifted child, I caught myself playing it down, saying she's gifted, but honestly is not that great as it sounds, horrified that someone might think that I was bragging about her potential or implying that she's somehow superior. And at some point, hearing myself do it, a friend who is also neurodivergent asked, why was I justifying my kids' profiles and her needs? And it made me stop and listen to myself and think, why am I doing this? I want her to grow up proud of who she is, and I am the one taking every opportunity to make her sound like a problem. Neurodivergent kids are not problems. They have special needs, different challenges than normative people. That's all. But us, parents, they are perfect as they are. We love them the way they are, and we want them to love themselves too. The world out there is hard enough. It's hard for kids that don't fit the mold. So I stopped including that, yes, but, and it started to challenge how we talk about giftedness in the first place. Something in that equation was not adding up, and it took somebody else, another mom, to call it out. We see giftedness as an advantage, partly because of the name, partly because it's rare, and because of the few high-achieving examples we all know of. They are called the geniuses. But if you have ever actually met a gifted child, or you're raising one, you know that this advantage is a tiny part, a part that may or may not even show up of something far bigger and far more complex than high achievement, than potential. And yes, many gifted people go on to achieve extraordinary things, and we need to recognize that, to nurture it, and to value their contribution. But that is not a given. It is not a guarantee that every gifted person will find success or develop the new theory of something, especially when they are made invisible to the educational system and their needs are being neglected. As parents, I guarantee you, we are far more concerned with what our children actually need to fit in, to be emotionally and physically safe, to be allowed to be themselves, to make friends, and to have a positive experience of childhood. To come home without breaking down in tears in the car. That is what really matters. And this is exactly the same for all of us. To start challenging our understanding of giftedness, let me be clear about what giftedness is not. It is not a moral superiority, not a guarantee of high achievement, most definitely not a guarantee of happiness, and not a parenting trophy. It is, more honestly and simply, a cognitive profile that usually includes a combination of faster learning, stronger pattern recognition, unusual intensity, high levels of curiosity, problem-solving skills, and sometimes an uneven development of emotional, cognitive, and physical aspects. To make ourselves and our gifted children invisible because of a social and cultural misunderstanding of a label built on old ideas is generally hurting and allowing for up to 2 to 5% of the population to be left with no help for their real needs. This is in the UK about 1.3 million people and over 213,000 school children. If we haven't met yet through some other episode of Fast Brain, Full Heart, I am Juliana, a psychologist, psychoeducation specialist, a person with ADHD myself, married to a gifted partner and mother to a fascinating, twice exceptional child. Learning more about our own neurocomplex family system and everything that comes with it created an urge I have never predicted, an urge to step out from behind the cameras where I am used to coordinating and producing, writing videos about social impact for my clients, and onto this side instead, to speak up, to share my experience and my voice, and to learn from the people who have been on this journey far longer than I have. I want to invite you to learn with me, to join this conversation, to share this episode, to help me find ways to break the stigma, helping other parents to raise gifted individuals who are healthy, emotionally safe, and happily integrated, no shame attached. Because being gifted is not an elitist choice that implies superiority. It is simply a human neurocomplex profile that happens to be statistically rare. And if you are gifted or twice exceptional or raising one and want to share your story, please get in touch at julianablacks.com. To support our podcast, please check our page at patreon.com/fastbrainfulheart. Ciao, see you next time.